afternoon, everyone. My name is Sean. I'm going to be your deckhand and tour guide today. Welcome to Lovers Cove. Lovers Cove has been protected since June of 1960, so since then there has been no harvesting of marine life whatsoever. There is no fishing, netting, trapping. You're not even allowed to scuba dive or anchor a boat here, so it's kind of like a zoo where we can look, but we don't really touch or take any of the marine life. You're not even supposed to take rocks or shells from Lovers Cove. We're going to be coming up on two main schools of fish here today. There's two feeding areas. Once we get to that first feeding area, I'm going to head back up top and feed the fish. I'll put food around the whole boat so that we are totally surrounded. There's going to be plenty of fish for everyone to see. And then once I'm done feeding the fish, I'll come back down to tell you about a couple of the different species that we'll be seeing here today. And also make sure that you take advantage of the angle of these windows, because sometimes you can see down even a little bit further than you can actually see out. But it looks like we're almost here, so I'm going to head up top, feed the fish. I'll be back down to tell you all about it in just a few minutes.
We are just above. If you look up, the water is right there. Look at that big guy.
They're swimming alongside of us. He must be feeding them already or something. I don't know.
Like right next to you.
Maybe get in the shot. Look at that These are the calico bass, right?
Yeah, calico bass.
Oh, look here. Jenna, look. Following the boat. They know they're gonna get food here.
Hey guys.
Oh my god.
It's feeding time. It's so big.
Let's see.
Well, you're not allowed to fish them out. Those are the barracuda or smelt?
Oh, there's two.
Look at you. I know. So cool. Now this one. I thought it was a rock right here. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. Oh, look at this. There's more sunshine. Oh, my God.
Alright, pretty cool, huh? We've got a couple of different species here. First one I'll tell you about, it's usually pretty easy to see. That solid colored fish with a single white dot on their back. Sometimes 2 or 3 white dots. Those are called opali. And when they swim out into the sunlight, you can see why they are called opali, for that beautiful blue opalescent eye. It's probably the only beautiful thing about these fish. And they are scavengers. They eat anything floating in suspension or growing on the bottom of your boat. Seaweed, algae, fish food, fish waste, cigarette butts, gum. Probably the most nutritious thing that these opali will eat are small crustaceans on the ocean floor, so not the tastiest fish that you can catch on the island. But pound for pound, decent fighting fish, fun to catch and release, and also fairly hard to hook due to the size of their mouth. That small mouth is also what restricts their diet. Sometimes you can see them kissing the bottom of the boat, cleaning it off, and you can see how small their mouth really is. They get to be just under 2 feet fully grown, and they live to be about 8 or 9 years old in the wild.
Look at the mouth. They're so
And then we have
tiny.
these greenish brown fish with a checkered pattern on their back. Those are called calico bass. Some people call them kelp bass for living in beds of kelp just like this. Some people call them sugar bass for their reputation as a delicious fish. And although these calico bass are so delicious, you won't find them in any restaurant. They're classified as a game fish, which means if you want to try one, you yourself have to catch it, clean it, and cook it all on your own. And they're very easy to catch. You can see people catch these calico bass from the green pier right where we got on this boat almost every single day. Hard part is getting one of legal keeping size, probably older than me. And we can count on these opaline calico bass being here every single day. Not only because we feed them, that definitely helps, but they also tend to be sedentary or territorial species. So that means that they will spend most of, if not their whole life, in one general area. And for a lot of them, that's going to be right here in Lover's Cove. A lot of other fish in the ocean are considered pelagic, which means open ocean. Just like tuna, dorado, swordfish, marlin, all those kinds of fish are constantly swimming out there in the open ocean trying to find food. And they don't have a little place like Lover's Cove that they go home to every night like these fish do here. And we've been feeding the fish here for over 80 years. We've actually been doing glass bottom boat tours here for about 125 years. Glass bottom boats were invented right here on Catalina Island in the late 1800s. We were launching glass bottom rowboats off the rocky beaches of Avalon, originally used to help fishermen find fish. You'd have a fisherman go out in his rowboat, have a big pane of glass, he'd lean it over the side onto the surface of the water, look down and be able to see all the fish below. But now you're on the next generation of glass bottom boats here with the semi-submarine. But like I said, we've been feeding them here for a very long time, so these fish know the tour very well. And they also know that we only feed them in these 2 feeding areas. So once we start to make our way through the cove, a lot of these fish are going to stay right here and wait for the next trip. But along the way, I don't know what we're going to see or when we're going to see it, because Lover's Cove is all part of the open Pacific Ocean. There are no nets, cages, lines, walls. There's nothing to stop anything from coming or going in or out of Lover's Cove. So what that means is that we can see something different on almost every trip. Sometimes we have things that swim past us, underneath us, just for a couple of seconds, and we might not even see it for the rest of the day. So you really have to keep your eyes out. And sometimes there's different species here based on the water temperature or conditions at different times of the year. So first half of the trip here today, it'll be more shallow on the right-hand side, and then deeper out here on the left where I'm sitting. After the second feeding area, we'll spin the boat around so both sides of the boat can see both sides of the cove. The shallow parts of Lover's Cove are usually more of a rocky reef environment, and then the deeper parts are usually more of a sandy times throughout the trip.
Oh my god, look!
So in just a second, I'm going to head back up top and feed the fish one more time. Same thing, I'll put food around the whole boat. But it's always important to look down and out, or deeper out here. Not every fish likes to swim right next to the windows. They're not all interested in the fish food. Sometimes there's something different just underneath that big school of fish, or maybe even all the way down towards the bottom. And if it looks like they start to get scared or swim away from something, try and see what the fish are swimming away from. Could be anything from a bigger fish, a seal, sea lion. Sometimes we can even see birds from the windows down here. We never really know. Whether it's the visibility or the fish themselves, this is really all Mother Nature's trip. And it looks like we're here, so I'm going to head up top, feed the fish, we'll spin the boat around, and then I'll come back down to tell you about a couple more things in just a few minutes. So sit back. And they are protected by California law. People have been fined as much as $1,500 for keeping a single one of these little orange fish. Despite their size, they are one of, if not the most aggressive and baldy. They're part of the damselfish family. And there's usually one other damselfish that we can see here in Lover's Cove, and they are called the blacksmith. And the blacksmith are those dark little midnight blue fish. They almost kind of look like little baby fish out there. Fully grown, they're somewhere around the size of your hand, but we do see a lot of juveniles around this time of the year that are much smaller than that. We typically see more blacksmith out there on the deeper side because they're one of the filter feeders that we have out here in Lover's Cove. We just passed by a couple of them just out there right now. And the reason that we see them on the deeper side, like you said, one of the filter feeders. So they enjoy floating around in that deeper, more nutrient-rich water where they can just sit there, open and close their mouth, and filter out all that plankton. And sometimes if you look closely enough at those blacksmiths, you can see them opening and closing their mouths with a little white flash. Sometimes there's just one or two. Sometimes you pass by a big school of blacksmiths. I start to throw the food in the water, but that's just them trying to beat each other out of the free meal. And as we get closer to that feeding area and start to float around here, we can see a little bit of this kelp, and then we'll enter that kelp forest at the end of the trip. Couple different types of kelp that you can find around the island, but most of what we see in the cove and what we can see out here on the deeper side right now, this is called giant kelp or bladder kelp. Some people say giant bladder kelp. This is one of the fastest growing plants in the entire world. In perfect conditions, this kelp can grow up to 2 feet in a single day and can be over 200 feet long in total length. So it creates these beautiful undersea gardens very quickly. But it only grows in cold water, so it doesn't grow 2 feet every day. So here on the island, it usually dies off every summer and then grows back every winter. It likes to grow in water between about 50 and 65 degrees. And I went scuba diving yesterday, hopped in the water actually on this boat to clean the windows from the outside, and my dive computer said it was about 70 degrees on the surface, so the kelp's not growing right now. So as it gets warmer and warmer and the days go on, all the kelp that we can see here right now is just going to start getting thinner and thinner. You can already see a couple of those little vines that we call the stipes that are kind of empty, and they just have those little beads on them instead of having the actual blades of kelp.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby.
See that? Yeah, that's our boat. We're on a boat. Sort of. A semi-submarine.
Get in the picture in here.
I wonder if that's your brothers and sisters up there. Behind you. With the parasailing.
That's very good. I feel like a cinematographer.
Oh, just people behind us.
Yeah.
You see Avalon? I don't know. What's back there?
There's another boat.
I know.
It's a cruise ship.
Like, what's back there? Solid boat. But open ocean, open water.
To me.
Just like it does on the game.